Tomorrow, you could weigh in on Denver's efforts to host the Winter Olympics. Members of the Exploratory Committee are holding a public forum. They'll be looking into the costs and impacts of pursuing a bid for the 2030 Games. One of the biggest concerns many of us have is who's going to pay for it.
It's ultimately taxpayers that are on the hook for cost overruns. That's a requirement of the International Olympic Committee, and that every Olympics since 1960 has had a cost overrun.
What he's been looking at is the old story about the way the Olympic Games have been done. And in the past, the Olympic Games have been heavily financed by communities using public dollars. The IOC has gone through a process now where there's Agenda 2020 and the new norm, where they're starting to say maybe that model's not working.
The Exploratory Committee says no taxpayer dollars will be spent, but there's also concerns about traffic. Committee members say the Games would likely have fewer attendees than the National Western Stock Show. If you want to know more, tomorrow's forum is being held at the Park Hill Congregational Church on Layden Street. That starts at 10 a.m. While you were sleeping, U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson weighed in for the first time on President Donald Trump's plan to meet with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. Speaking to the media about 4 hours ago while on a trip to Africa, Tillerson seemed optimistic.
In terms of direct talks with the United States, and you asked negotiations, and we're a long ways from negotiations. I think we just need to be very clear-eyed and realistic about it. I think the first step, and I've said this before, is to have talks, have some kind of talks.
If the meeting happens, it would be the first between a sitting U.S. president and a North Korean leader. A date for that meeting has not yet been set, but it could take place by the end of May.
It's now 6:10. It's really nice out. We've got a mostly sunny sky early on, pretty mild, 30s and 40s. The winds will pick up a bit more today. We've got partly cloudy skies, but another day of 60s. A storm brings snow to the mountains tonight. We'll talk about that coming up.
And the time change will bring a different drive next week compared to this week. Right now, it looks great on I-70 out there to the east side, but that sun glare will be different. We're not going to see it in the 6 o'clock hour. We'll see it in the 7 o'clock hour starting next week.
All right. Well, it is not exactly what you want to find in a bag of rice. We'll show you why customs officials are bugging out.
And binge watching Obama, the former president's latest plans for life after the White House.
Welcome back. It's now 6:14. He's spent a lot of time in front of cameras, and now former President Obama is considering making a career of it. You'll see this all over your social media today. Dozens of news outlets report the former president is in talks with Netflix about a production partnership. Details have not been finalized, but the deal could see Obama serving as moderator in a new series. The move would give the Obamas a platform to reach a huge worldwide audience. Netflix boasts more than 117 million subscribers. More than half of those are outside the United States.
Well, the gold standard of the music competition series, American Idol, makes its anticipated return to television Sunday night right here on Denver 7. This time around, the judges say they know what they're looking for, and they know right away if someone isn't making it to Hollywood. Don't expect producers to stray away from the traditional Idol format. Returning host Ryan Seacrest says there's no need to change what has always worked. You can check out American Idol Sunday night at 7 right here on Denver 7.
Well, I'm glad this year they know exactly what they're looking for.
I was going to sing, but you just cut me off.
Go.
No,
they know what they're not looking for, yes.
And that's me. We've got a nice start. I'm excited for the season, actually. It's going to be fun. I love to see what Katy Perry's wearing. I mean, we had some video of her with socks on her hands last time.
Okay.
But you know what? It'll be the next fashion trend because she's doing it.
Yeah, right?
Nice start. 30s and 40s this morning. By this afternoon, we'll be in the 60s. It's a really nice start on the emoji cast. Mostly sunny skies. That is one happy emoji at noon. Now, by about 4 o'clock, we'll be in the mid-60s. Denver right around 65 for a high. So we are expecting a few more clouds this afternoon. A breezy westerly wind, so a few minor changes as this next storm rolls in. Unfortunately, with the wind, the dry weather, and temperatures climbing into the 60s, fire danger is going to be higher today. Here's the view from, wait for it. There's the view from Pikes Peak. What a pretty start. We've got a few clouds, but it's a bright eastbound drive. Jason's going to talk more about the time change. Obviously, that's going to impact the drives to and from work starting early next week. 20s and 30s in Denver. Parker right now at 29, Castle Rock 35. Look at Boulder, though, 49 degrees. We've got that wind coming in out of the west-northwest, so it is prompting some fire weather warnings issued for today, covering parts of northern and eastern Colorado through the afternoon and early evening. You'll see those winds. They're a lot gustier up and through the foothills in the northern Front Range Mountains and also across northern and northeastern Colorado. Not as bad here in Denver. We'll be breezy today, upper 50s by about 12 o'clock, low to mid 60s by about 3, and then we're under more cloud cover by 7 tonight. So changes as the next storm rolls in. It's going to bring with it some snow to the mountains. Thank goodness we're going to get a couple more inches up there late tonight and early tomorrow. No alerts posted for that snow. Not expecting it to be heavy enough for that, but at least maybe 2 to 4 inches from tonight through Saturday. Down across the plains, it's dry to start tomorrow. So if you've got some Saturday morning plans, things look dry, but there is a chance for a few showers tomorrow afternoon. Winds a little bit gustier. It's going to feel a little cooler in spots. Wind chills will be a factor tomorrow, and we'll get a few light rain and snow showers through the afternoon and early evening. Skies are going to clear out on Sunday. We're expecting more sunshine, and we'll be in the low 50s both Saturday and Sunday. We stay in the 50s for the first of next week, and then we're tracking another warm-up next week, Wednesday and Thursday. So when it comes to storms on our 7-day, really it's going to be this one that rolls through on Saturday that gives us the best chance for a little bit of rain. Do you own an umbrella? Jace, do you own an umbrella?
Yeah, I do. I have one in the car.
I have no idea where it is. I mean, you might need it sporadically Saturday, but...
I have one of these little ones I got in New York City forever ago that I keep in the door area, that little pocket right there in the door.
Thanks for that info. Now I know where to steal it from. Now I know exactly where it is.
You're not allowed in my car anymore after yesterday's video. If you take a look at my Facebook page, or Lisa's, you can see that video. It was a classic Pittsburgh left. Classic. All right, so anyway, we have this 270 drive getting a little bit busier. You can see that here. 8 minutes or so on the eastbound side, maybe 6 minutes on the westbound side. Taking a look at Highway 36. So far, so good. As you take a look at the camera up there, not too far from the overlook, you can see the sunrise. It's going to be a major problem here for us in the 6 o'clock hour, but with the time change, obviously pushes it back to the 7 o'clock hour, so it'll still be pretty dark here at this time starting on Monday, so it should help us out on some of those eastbound routes. Take a look at the drive on Highway 93. That's moving along just fine there between Boulder and Golden, maybe 20 minutes or so on that drive, and a pretty quiet drive out here to the south and to the east. That's where Air Tracker 7 is right now. Down along Parker Road, they look like a tire changer right there at the entrance, I guess that would be Lehigh or so, or at the entrance to the Cherry Creek State Park. They're not too far from Quincy, so it looks like it's going to be in that ramp lane. They were just checking it out as they're now flying away across the park over there by Cherry Creek.
This is bad news. One of the most destructive insects in the world is now in the United States. This morning, Customs and Border Patrol is reporting they found the bug at 2 D.C. area airports. It's called the Capra beetle, and it's the only bug that U.S. Customs actually has regulatory action against. It is really bad. It can wipe out entire crops. It damages more grain than it consumes, and it's so destructive it could potentially have crippling consequences on our grain and cereal exporters. The bugs were found in rice and peas brought in by travelers from Saudi Arabia and Nigeria.
Here's a look at our top stories this morning. Fire investigators are on scene right now trying to figure out what sparked this massive construction fire in uptown Denver. People in the Northeast are digging out after a massive nor'easter right now. As many as 500,000 people still don't have power. And this morning, computer models are showing another one may be on the way. And this weekend, you'll have another opportunity to weigh in on a Rocky Mountain Olympics. Denver's Olympic Exploratory Committee is hosting a forum tomorrow at the Park Hill Congregational Church that starts at 10 a.m.
He's been a big part of the Broncos for years, even helping the team bring home a Super Bowl win. But this morning, Aqib Talib is waking up a Los Angeles Ram. What some diehard Broncos fans are saying about the trade.
And you ask the questions, Jason has the answers. Up next, he's explaining why we need so many of those pesky meter lights on our highway on-ramps. Time now is 6:24. By now, you've likely run into metering lights on C470, 36, I-25, I-70, or I-270.
Every highway here, basically. The lights control the flow of traffic onto the highway during peak times.
And Tim, who lives in the mountains, wrote to Jason Luber to complain about those lights. And Jason, Tim wants to know if one set of lights is there to punish people in the Winter Park area and in Grand County.
No, Tim. The CDOT is not intentionally trying to punish you if you're skiing in Grand County. Tim is really talking about those ramp lights that are coming off of Highway 40 that would take you up to Winter Park or up into Grand County and then get onto eastbound I-70. That's where these lights are, right there in Empire. And Tim told me all too often these lights force traffic to back up for miles and miles on Highway 40, sometimes all the way back to Berthoud Pass. He says it's dangerous because of the risk of an avalanche or a rock slide. The ramp lights on Highway 40 are designed to hold traffic so the flow doesn't on eastbound I-70 back up all the way through Georgetown. That would create a hazard for the drivers that are coming down that really steep hill down from Silver Plume. CDOT says they want to install more cameras to monitor and manage the traffic flow better, but they just don't have that money yet. As for the concern about the avalanche danger, CDOT says they would always close down Highway 40 if there was any risk of an avalanche or a rock slide, anything like that. But really, it's a bigger story about all the traffic that's up there. It really has stopped not just me, but other people from driving up there on the weekends to go skiing.
Because you just don't want to deal with it.
Exactly.
All right, thanks, Jason. The talk of the town today is sure to be the big move by our Denver Broncos, trading Pro Bowl cornerback Aqib Talib to the LA Rams.
In exchange, the Broncos get a 5th-round draft pick, and they free up some money to try and lure a big-name quarterback.
Talib was a big part of the Broncos' no-fly zone that helped bring the Lombardi Trophy to Denver back in 2016. This could be just the beginning of a long purge for the team as it tries to rebuild back into a Super Bowl contender.
Obviously, Broncos fans have some strong opinions about this one. Comments on our Facebook page fill the spectrum from "What are you thinking, Broncos?" from Roxy to Stan's take that Talib is the lucky one, playing for Wade Phillips on a Super Bowl caliber team.
And here's the bottom line from Lee. The Broncos can't afford to pay $30 million to the defensive backfield. Trading Talib frees up $11 million. We hate to see him go, but best wishes to Talib.
That's how you play the game.
Yep, it all comes down to the money. New information on the impact still being felt today after a massive construction fire in Denver. What we've learned this morning and what investigators hope to find out today.
The fire impacted more than just one building. It burned cars and destroyed apartment windows. How the city is helping those displaced by all the damage this morning. Burned cars, burned roofs, even a melted couch. How the city of Denver is stepping in to help people affected by this week's construction site fire in Uptown.
Just into our newsroom, what new employment numbers released this morning show for the state of our economy.
Secretary of State Rex Tillerson is weighing in on a proposed meeting between President Trump and Kim Jong-un and how our South Korean allies are helping push for denuclearization.
Denver 7 News starts right now.
Welcome back to Denver 7. You probably only need a light jacket as you head out the door this morning.
It's already about 46 degrees outside and going to get better. Let's send it over to Lisa Hidalgo.
Yeah, and that depends on your neighborhood. Some neighborhoods right now are in the 20s and 30s, but we're likely going to see some upper 30s to low 40s, mostly sunny. Here's your bus stop planner. Light jacket or sweatshirt, like you said this morning at the bus stop, it'll be just fine. This afternoon, we're under a partly cloudy sky. It's warm again. We're in the mid-60s today, a little breezier here in and around town, gustier to the west of Denver and also north up near Fort Collins. But by 3 o'clock, those winds push us into the 60s. The Montclair neighborhood at 66, Highlands Ranch 65, Westminster 64. Pretty start to our day. Look at what the sunrise is doing, though. It's bouncing off the buildings in downtown right now. This is going to look a lot different tomorrow. Jason, tomorrow afternoon, we've got a chance for a few showers. I'll show you what that looks like with this next storm coming up.
And right now we have a huge power outage out to the east side of town. From the XL outage map, you can see over 2,100 customers are affected, and they have a center not too far off of I-70 out there just north of Buckley and just south of DIA. Now, I have not heard of any issues reported getting out to DIA just yet. As you take a look at the map out that way, I'm not seeing any significant delays on some of the roads, including Chambers or Tower Road, anything like that, or even Pena Boulevard, but I'll keep a close eye on that. Some of the intersections might be dark because of that huge power outage. The other heavy traffic is going to be here across 270, already looking at 10 to 12 minutes. Air Tracker 7 is up that way, seeing one minor crash on the ramp that comes from I-25 to I-76, but it's still just sluggish traffic out that way. You can see the rest of the drive looks pretty good, including for us down to the south side.
We continue to follow our top story this morning, the investigation into the cause of this fire at a construction site in Uptown Denver that killed 2 people. 30 minutes ago, we spoke with Denver Fire Captain Greg Pixley. Here's what we know right now. Investigators are being joined by the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms to investigate this scene. The body of a second person was found by search crews in what's left of the building. Right now, a coroner is working to identify both victims. That could take weeks, but fire investigators believe the remains belong to 2 missing construction workers.
This morning, the construction company responsible for that project is expressing condolences to the victims. Vertex Builders of Frederick sent a letter to Denver 7 saying they are deeply saddened by the loss of life and injuries resulting from the fire, and their hearts go out to all those involved as well as to their families. The company tells Denver 7 it is working closely with Denver Police and Fire, along with the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, amid their investigations.
Explosions and when he was down, he just was waiting for my husband. He never showed up.
Right now, 2 families are still waiting for news about their loved ones.
And we spoke with Yvette Flores Prieto, whose husband Roberto was working at the site when the fire broke out and hasn't been heard from since. She says he always took precautions while on the job.
Wears all the safety gear that he's supposed to be wearing. He's really strict on that, and he knows he has to because he has a family.
The company that Roberto worked for has set up a fund for his wife and 2 small children. Right now, that fund is up to about $5,000. Roberto's wife tells us that his family is in Mexico and they're pretty much on their own here.
And the impact of the fire is far-reaching. A number of people who live nearby had their windows broken out or their cars just completely burned. But there's help on the way for them this morning. In less than half an hour, the city is setting up an assistance center. It'll be on the corner of 19th in Ogden. It will be open from 7 to 10 this morning. The Red Cross is also stepping in. They tell us they're helping out about 100 people right now. And we will be following this story all morning long, bringing you the latest information as it comes into our newsroom. Coming up in about 15 minutes, we'll head back out to the scene for another update. That information is also available 24/7 on thedenverchannel.com.
The Denver Sheriff's Department is looking for people to work at the jail. You don't need experience, but you will have to go through a 16-week training academy.
This is a very, very difficult job. It takes a very specific skill set to manage this population, and so we want to make sure that people are prepared for that before we put them through the academy.
The next academy is in June. If you're interested, the Sheriff's Department holds orientations twice a month where you can talk to recruiters and learn more about the job.
At 6:35, we're looking ahead to some wonderful weather over the next several days.
So we'll show you some of the fun events you may want to check out this weekend, including one so Colorado, you may just have to see it to believe it. At 6:38 right now, just into our newsroom, we are getting a new look at the economy this morning. The Labor Department just released its unemployment numbers about 15 minutes ago. Last month, the economy added 313,000 jobs. That's more than the 200,000 economists were anticipating. The unemployment rate remains at 4.1%. This report might also clear the way for the Federal Reserve to raise the benchmark interest rate when it meets this month under its new chairman.
If you're looking for something to do this weekend, Denver 7 has everything you need to know.
Starting with the reopening of an old museum that outgrew its first location.
Here is a look at the new Kirkland Museum of Fine and Decorative Art. It's named for Vance Kirkland, a Colorado painter, collector, and artist. The museum was originally at 13th and Pearl, but the new location is at 12th and Bannock.
Now have over 30,000 objects in 3 distinct collections: International Decorative Art, Colorado and Regional Art, and the estate collection of Vance Kirkland, Colorado painter.
The Kirkland Museum items are displayed in salon style, meaning functional pieces are displayed alongside fine art, painting, and sculpture.
But maybe you're looking for something a little more frozen. It's Frozen Dead Guy Days in Nederland. There's actually a real frozen dead man in Boulder County near Nederland. He died back in 1989, and he's been packed in dry ice ever since. Every month, that dry ice has to be replaced. This festival celebrates his life. So today through Sunday, there are plenty of events to celebrate, including music, food, a polar plunge, and for the more morbid of you, coffin races. Yes, it is really weird, but really fun and a true Colorado tradition.
You know, when I die, I want to be frozen. I want you all to party around me. I think that sounds like a good plan. plan.
What a way to spend the afterlife,
right?
Yes.
Well, if neither of those are your cup of tea, don't worry. There's still going to be something for you this weekend.
Mitch Jelniker has a full wrap-up of everything going on in the Denver Metro.
Start your St. Patrick's Day early with the Runnin' of the Green. It's Sunday at 9 a.m. starting at Union Station. The race benefits Volunteers of America. There's also the Lucky Charms Run, a 1-mile, 5K, and 10K on March 9th and 10th. You get a bowl of Lucky Charms cereal when you finish. The Rocky Mountain Horse Expo runs all weekend over at the National Western Complex. There's a horse competitions and also a trade show. That's what she said. It's a gathering at the Tivoli today that benefits the Women of Auraria Scholarship Fund. You can hear stories about women from all walks of life. Over at the Blair Caldwell African American Research Library on Saturday, there's a celebration there called Dear Black Girls, We Love You. You could bring your daughter or your mom to hear inspirational stories. And Saturday at Elitch Gardens, it's the Polar Plunge. The event benefits someone like you and raises money for Special Olympics.
Well, there is even more going on this weekend in Vail.
What you'll see if you head up to the U.S. Burton Championships.
We're staying on top of our top story this morning, the investigation into that deadly fire at a construction site in Denver.
Just 45 minutes ago, we spoke with Denver Fire Chief Greg Pixley about what they know so far in the investigation.
Crews have been on the scene all night looking into the cause. So far, they won't say whether or not the circumstances are suspicious. We know the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms is joining the investigation.
Right now, the coroner is trying to identify the remains of the 2 people found at the scene. We likely won't have a positive identification for weeks, but for now, fire investigators believe the victims are 2 construction workers who were working there on that building.
And this morning, we're getting a better idea of the complexity of the investigation facing Denver fire officials.
Denver 7's Megan Lopez joins us now from the scene. And Megan, what are investigators going to be doing today?
Well, they're going to be slowly and methodically going through the scene, which is these ruins that you see from this construction project behind me. And they're going to be looking for evidence to try to determine exactly what happened, why it happened, and whether anything could have been done to prevent it. Now, just a short time ago, I spoke with Fire Captain Greg Pixley. He said he's never seen a fire this big in his 32 years on the fire department. I mean, it was so hot that it damaged 4 different Denver fire units. Captain Pixley said this investigation could take weeks or months to complete, and that's because they want to be thorough.
At this point in time, we've really slowed down our operations. We're looking at it differently now. That methodical piece that's going to be necessary for us to get a comprehensive investigation is really our main focus. We don't want to miss anything, because if we miss anything, it's not going to allow us to have a full view of what the actual investigation needs. And we want to find why that fire took off the way that it did, how it started, and how we can reduce these type of hazards from happening in the future.
Captain Pixley said he's proud of the heroes on the fire department at the construction site and people who worked nearby that rushed in to help. He said this loss of life could have been a lot worse if those people did not jump into action. Now, power is still out for some of the buildings out here on 18th and 19th and Emerson, and they're going to stay that way until firefighters can make sure that everything is safe to turn back on. Something else that's happening this morning is, along with this mobile command unit, along with all the investigators, there's also going to be an